I sounded
But they seem
pessimistic.
to have proven you wrong with that.
No, you see, it is not possible. We're still oscillating around 3,000 plus 4,000. We've always had in stock capacity of 5,000, which we never picked, and we will never be able to pick. Because the whole power sector is designed to fail. And we've pointed these things out for decades. You say, oh, that is not the way to go. Maybe somebody was not interested. Maybe some people are benefiting from the current structure. It's not for me. But all these facts have been there. We've said it several times here. At some point, I had to pause to just allow the whole thing. Let's see, it's going to collapse on all of us, so we're all here. But then, lessons are not learned. If lessons have been learned, we said the monitoring will never be effective when you have this kind of structure that we put in place. We have bottom-up approach to regulation, and we are talking about decentralized energy governance. Now, the world is going towards off-grid, and yet the law says off-grid should be regulated by states, and states should pass laws to that effect. But the off-grid electricity generation, distribution, and transmission is still being done by the federal government. A whole lot of issues. So let's go back to the issue of $16 billion. Who audited the investment? When the Obasanjo regime was busy planting or siting power plants all over, the question was, how are they going to be able to run it, looking at the location and gas availability? Nobody thought of the challenges of gas pipeline and vandalization and the rest. A whole lot of issues. Having power plant located away from gas, among others. So then at what cost? What's the cost of this investment to Nigerians? Who is benefiting? Why I'm not too happy with the current administration is this. They promise so much as to power, and we try to be careful, very pessimistic. Say, well, you do stuff in the power sector, but not at that magnitude. Don't raise Nigeria so, because it's not going to change. If it will change, not significantly because of a number of things that have been done wrongly. And I haven't seen any traces or anything to convince me that we're ready to reverse those things. That's one. Secondly, it was this regime that we learned government had intervened twice. There was power sector intervention fund just towards the end of Jonathan regime, billions of naira, about 760-something billion. Then that was towards the end of Jonathan administration. The current administration had intervened in the power sector to the tune of close to 2 trillion naira by way of direct and indirect intervention, subsidy, waivers, and so many other stuff. Then, for the past 16 years, the power sector, as President Buhari rightly mentioned, power sector had attracted highest budgeting provision. Obasanjo spent a lot of money in the power sector. Jonathan did the same. President Jonathan did the same thing. The current administration is doing the same thing. Are the problems solved? No.
Okay, and Dr. K, we'll take a moment and head over to our Abuja studio where Mark is sitting with the man who midwifed the power sector for a while. Over to you, Mark.
Well, thank you, Nyota. Yes, we do have in the studio with us Dr. Sam Amadi, who is a former Director General of the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission. Actually, you're welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Thank you. Former Executive Chairman.
Former is that the title?
Chairman and Chief Executive.
My apologies.
No problem.
I think that sometimes you get these designations confused. But you're welcome again.
Thank you.
You have heard Dr. Yemioki there talking about the controversies that has finally come up. Nigerians have been asking this question. It seems that we have spent quite a lot on electricity in the last number of years, even though now it's coming up in the political setting, and it's been voiced by the current president, saying that former administration spent $16 billion on electricity with nothing to show for it. Of course, the former president has come out to say we did not spend $16 billion, that is falsehood, and he's surprised that the president is towing that line for something that has already been clarified. But we did spend a lot of money, didn't we?
Sure, we did.
How come it is that Nigerians are not seeing value for money from all that they have seen so far?
Very good question. First, let's settle the facts. I remember towards the end of during Yar'Adua's administration, the idea of spending 16 billion as what came out of the power sector parliamentary legislative inquiry was in the air, and finally the guy who ought to know, I think Salawi or who in the presidency came out and said no, the government didn't spend. They spent actually 6 points because 16 billion was earmarked in the budget, but cash backup was basically 6 point something billion dollars, so to say. So that figure is not credible in terms of actual investigated figure. It's in the public domain, but of course, presidents during campaign period can plug figures that are trending and use them. So basically, we don't have verifiable evidence of the spending 16 billion. But so much money has been spent, and the question, I think, the real message of President Buhari is, where is the power? Basically saying either we wasted, stole, or misapplied these funds in the power sector. Now, let me start.
And that is not improbable, because we also saw the Elumelu,
essentially, the point is that
Elumelu report,
exactly,
which also became a scandal of some sort.
Well, it turned the hunter became the hunted.
The hunted.
So basically, the point is, like Yemi tried to put this, it is not true that there's no value, but it is true that we have not got adequate value for this investment, and for two reasons. First is, we also forget that no matter what the regulator does or the policy of the power sector, the procurement process of federal government projects are the same for power, for health, for road. And so the first question will now be, how do we procure these services? So take, for example, the NIPP projects, like you mentioned. Great idea. I think the best idea so far on the power sector is the recognition of the need for government to continue to build power plants. And that's what Obasanjo did with the SS crude that belong to the joint level, the state and the federal and local government act. Now, that project was supposed to, from 2005 till 2010, would have harvested 4,730-something megawatts. Now, the second phase would have rolled out from 2010 to 15, another basically 5,000. So essentially, 10,000 megawatts would have delivered to the grid by that project. Now, what did it happen? What happened? First, wrong contracting. We started giving contracts to people who have no capacity to do those contracts, which is primarily a political economy issue in Nigeria.